heard of them. And many of you may think about the bike riders when you hear about the Buffalo Soldiers, but that would not be accurate history. First of all, how you doing, Pastor Collier? It's good to see you again. Thank you, same to you. So, as you can see, I am wearing a uniform, which is actually not a full or accurate representation of the Buffalo Soldiers. However, for those of you who can't see this picture, this is more an accurate representation of their uniform, the original Buffalo Soldiers, which started in 1986. Oh, really? Okay, 1866. Thank you. Okay. Yes, thank you. Get a good look.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes, so thank you for holding the flag for me.
Yes, ma'am. Flag bearer.
So the Buffalo Soldiers, their motto is, we can, we will.
Amen. Amen.
And I think that kind of fits with what we're talking about today, right?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
So, to give you more look at what it was like for Buffalo Soldiers, and I'm not going to talk about this from the perspective of what they went through, but more of what they represented and what they left behind in their legacy. And today is a befitting day, because since we're talking about legacies, right?
Correct.
So, I call this History is Alive, but whose history is it? So many of us talk about our children not knowing our history, rather, correction, Black and African American children not knowing their history.
Right.
But how many adults actually know it? And as much as the educated Black man and woman does know, there is so much that we don't know. That includes myself, because it wasn't until a few years ago that I actually learned about the Buffalo Soldiers. And more accurately, I would say a little bit more than a few years ago, probably about 8 years ago now. But how many of you knew or know that the Buffalo Soldiers actually has a holiday? Yeah, exactly. And it's actually a federal holiday enacted by George W. Bush in 1992. July 28th is National Buffalo Soldiers Day. Yes, and I myself am, and other people, but I have decided to make it my mission to try to get that officially put on calendars. Because if it's in place, why not? If we have Veterans Day, Memorial Day, we should have Buffalo Soldiers Day, and it should be officially recognized. So if it's already set in place, what's the problem?
Come on.
Now, moving forward, now, me myself, because some of you might wonder, why is there a woman up here instead of a man up here representing the Buffalo Soldiers? Well, you may not know, because historically, there actually was a female Buffalo Soldier. Yes, that would be Cathay Williams, a.k.a. Williams Kathy, because she actually disguised herself as a man in the military for 2 years. 2 years, historically, and she's the only female Buffalo Soldier historically known. And her secret, I myself was wondering, how did she get away with that for 2 years? I mean, because as a woman,
Right.
that's not such an easy feat, but among, a bunch of men. Well, it turns out that I did a little digging and found out that she had a cousin and a close friend who was in the same regiment as her. So they helped her keep her secret, because I know she could pull it off by herself, not like that. But 2 years in, she was wounded, because she was actually out there fighting too. Even though she was doing cooking, she was out there fighting too, but she was wounded. And she allowed herself to be examined by the military doctor, and that's when her secret was put out. Unfortunately, they gave her an honorable discharge. However, the miscarriage of justice in that is that they did not give her benefits later. Yeah, so she never received veteran benefits like she should have. They honored her, but that was it. You know, so, but, you know, somebody once said, oh, so she lied to the military? I was like, well, you really put that into perspective.
Come on.
I said, you really think about that. Now, me personally, if it's a choice between being a slave and fighting for my freedom, I'm fighting for my freedom.
Come on. Come on.
So you can call me a liar if you want to, but I'm not gonna be a dead liar. You know, but Kathy Williams, she was not the only one who opened the door. She may have opened the doors for other women in the military, but it was the Buffalo Soldiers who opened the doors for so many more, because they led to the Tuskegee Airmen, aka Red Tails. They opened the door for so many others, and it was actually at least 180,000 African Americans who joined the Army, and that made up 6 regiments, which was later cut down to 4 regiments, which was the 9th, 10th, the 24th, and the 25th Infantry. Now, what's more significant about it and why their history is so important to us today is because the Buffalo Soldiers was actually military history as well as U.S. history. Now, by joining the military, they gained a new enemy who really wasn't their enemy, the Native Americans, but as inaccurately called Indians. No, they were not actually Indians. But the Buffalo Soldiers and the Native Americans would continue to parade themselves as each other's enemy for the next 30 years. Unfortunately, they actually had a lot in common, and they really did not break that barrier until 2021, when I myself was one of the newly Buffalo Soldiers who went to Washington, D.C., and took part of a proclamation that took place on June 25th, 2021, at Washington, D.C. at the Native American Museum. What was so special about this proclamation was that it was attended by 4 generations of the Lakota tribe and descendants of the Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee was actually a massacre. It really was a massacre, but June 25th, 2021 was actually a historical moment because I had the honor of writing a piece called Apology when I found out that I was going to take part in this. And this is it here. And I had the opportunity to actually present this at during the ceremony. And I was so concerned about how well it would be received, but it was very well received. And I knew it was because the Lakota tribe, when I finished the piece, and the piece was called Apology, and it was actually my way of saying that the Buffalo Soldiers are apologizing to the Native Americans for the part that they played in the massacre, in the Wounded Knee massacre. And I knew that that the mission was accomplished when I received a lot of handshakes, hugs, tears, and it was just such a heartfelt moment, and I was so grateful that they understood exactly what I was saying. Amen. And I was very blessed that I was able to take a part of that. Thank you. So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I so needed that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I so appreciate that. You know, it's very interesting that she said that because I have recently experienced this moment where I wanted to stop doing what I do that makes me me, because I had a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, and it was just really building up, and it felt like it wasn't well received, the things that I do. But sometimes it's just that one person that says that makes that difference. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Now back to the history, because I'm going to wrap this up for you guys. But the Buffalo Soldiers actually got their name from we believe it was the Cheyenne warriors. And there has been a little talk about it being a derogatory name when they call them Buffalo Soldiers. But if it was, if it wasn't, the Buffalo Soldiers still accepted that name and made it their own. But it doesn't change the fact that to the Native Americans, the Buffalo Soldier is an important animal, and it represents strength and fierceness. So I can't see any reason why I should believe that was a derogatory term. You were my enemy, but I'm still gonna give you your props, basically. So, you know, and they did it because most of them had the dark skin, the woolly hair, but the Buffalo Soldiers had a lot of determination in them. And if you knew all of the things that they did for the military and for the U.S., you would understand completely. So, you know, it doesn't, the Buffalo Soldiers, they were all commanded by a white commander, because at that time, you can understand, you know, blacks did not have any standing, really. But they can't deny that, yeah, that they did them, because, I mean, even when the Tuskegee Airmen, there was a war that was won because of them. I mean, they, and exactly, I mean, but you know what though? Later, even though they just faced a lot of discrimination, and including by even some of their light-skinned, you know, brethren, they did change history, and they did change a lot of people's mindset, because later, the first highest-ranking black officer at that time was Charles Young. And he actually led the 9th and 10th Cavalry and became the first African-American soldier in the U.S. Army to achieve the rank of colonel. Following the executive order of President Harry S. Truman in 1948, eliminating racial segregation in the armed forces, the last African-American regiments were disbanded in the 1950s. It may have been the end of all black military units in name, but it was not the end of the Buffalo Soldiers. Because from the beginning of 1866 to 1948, the Buffalo Soldiers made themselves known as a force to be reckoned with. They were known for their dedication and perseverance. They had the lowest desertion numbers in military history, the lowest. They gained high honors, and in spite of being given the toughest assignments, traveling upon long, arduous terrains, taking part in many battles, and facing discrimination, their dedication, fierceness, and eventually gained their respect by the others who, and approximately 18 of them were awarded the Medal of Honor, which paved the way for the country's first park rangers in the U.S. Because when the U.S. found itself with national parks, they found that they needed protecting. Guess who that job fell upon? The Buffalo Soldiers. They became, that's right, they became some of the first park rangers. Not only that, they also paved the way for the first black graduate of West Point Military Academy, Lieutenant Henry O. Flipper. Even some of the non-commissioned soldiers from 1907 to 1947 were used to train West Point cadets on tactics and riding skills because of their excellent horsemanship. And what the Buffalo Soldiers accomplished during the time of a war-torn country is amazing, to say the least. And that is why they was so important during peacetime. During the peacetime era, when the country was busy trying to rebuild and expand, it was the Buffalo Soldiers who mapped out the Western Territory, as well as to help build the railroads and all of that. They contributed things like fighting wildfires, keeping away poachers in Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks, protecting settlers, Wayne dragons, okay. My brain goes faster than my mouth sometimes. Wagon trains, stagecoaches, and the Pacific Railroad, and the cruise while it was under construction. The Buffalo Soldiers were their protection. They were also, you could probably say they're the very first Secret Service agents, because I believe it was Harry Truman who they were protecting when the president needed some security. It was the Buffalo Soldiers who did that. Yeah. Now, I will tell you how this holiday came about was actually in 1992 when General Colin Powell dedicated the National Buffalo Soldier Monument in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and President George W. Bush then enacted the holiday to commemorate the formation of the first Army regiments made entirely of African American soldiers. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Every time I say that word African American, my mind kind of glitches. It's like, we're not in Africa, so we're no longer African Americans. But I think you all understand the significance of the word. And it goes without saying,